One Piece chapter 994 marks the end of the Oh My Family cover story, and I must say, I'm extremely sad to see it go. It's something that I look forward to every week, seeing Capone and Lola and of course Pound, and to see it all come together with Lola, Mary, and Gotti is a fitting end for a beautiful cover story. I am lying if you cannot tell. I am ecstatic that this shit is over. However, I gotta say this, as much as we're writing off this cover story as something that was annoying and went a lot longer than we wanted it to, we're being a bit fraudulent. And I'm saying this because the conclusion to this cover story is one we've been waiting for a very long time. People may not remember, and you may act like you forget or you never knew about it. I mean, some people maybe didn't know about it, but back then, after everything that transpired in Thriller Bark, there were several theories made about Lola and her whereabouts. And of course, she got tied to Big Mom at some point, and we were always wondering what would happen to Lola and who would Lola marry. Yes, in hindsight, it feels like something really silly, and why would the fans even care about that? Well, I feel like in Thriller Bark, a lot of people did connect to Lola, and they came to like her as a character. And for Lola, I felt like it fit in regards to Big Mom and her being a missing daughter. She already had 1,000 kids. What was 1,001? So now seeing the cover story end with Lola marrying Gotti is very interesting, especially considering another theory that was out there in regards to the wedding that Shanks was attending was in regards to Lucky Roo and Lola. Funny stuff when you think about it, but that's just the community, and I really wouldn't trade it for anything. Maybe PS5, but that's it. Anyway, let's talk about this fantastic chapter. This chapter had several layers to it. It felt jam-packed. It didn't feel like one of those chapters, even though it's a lot of action, that things just flew by. It felt like we really got a lot of information from this chapter that we can use in the future. But the first thing I want to talk about today is the confirmation of Kikunojo losing her arm. Oda loves this. I feel like every single arc, every now and again, Oda introduces a character or makes it so that a character loses a limb. You can go back from Dressrosa to Zoe to Wano. Even before then, there's a character that's going to lose a limb. No matter what, it's guaranteed you can book it. And at this moment, what are the odds that a Straw Hat loses a limb? At what point does Oda say, you know what? This is so great, just losing a limb, this entire thing. We should make it happen to a main character. Who's the odds-on favorite? I'm gonna say Brook. But seriously though, Kikunojo and the Scabbards, their resolve is really impressive to Kaido. Obviously based on their showing throughout how they've defended Odin, or basically lived up to Odin's name, and that's a bit of an exaggeration because they haven't lived up to the strength of Odin, but I think the resolve is something that you have to admire. And Kaido said as much. My initial feelings about Kaido have completely changed. Yes, I do think Kaido wants to die, but I think it's a situation of somebody saying, hey, I will sell this for anything, but they have a criteria in their mind, they just haven't shared it yet. The price, the buyer, the circumstances, and in this case, I think Kaido does want to die, but I'm sure as you've heard before, the stage has to be set. For Kaido in particular, he was willing to die to the Scabbards if they displayed the strength comparable to Odin, because I think strength is something that's really valuable to Kaido, but just not the only thing. Obviously, resolve is important, and to an extent, honor. So I must say, I am really impressed with this character and how far he's come. I think when we go back, when we think about great characters in One Piece, maybe Kaido won't be towards the top of the list. Of course, it's not over, but I think based on where he started to where he is now, it's pretty good. It is pretty good. I think I do understand a bit of how Kaido does things now though, in which he takes a pounding, and I guess he gauges your strength off of that. If you can't defeat him in his dragon form, he then goes to his human or Oni or whatever he is form, and then he destroys you. So the Scabbards, maybe they have a chapter or two left, but the domination is coming. I mean, Kaido's already transformed back to his regular state, his original state as we know him, and I think it's curtains. They put up a valiant fight and I enjoy it, but I think it's pretty much over for these people. And I think Kaido's ready to end it as well. Fans like to use moments like this to discredit Sanji, and I think it's funny just how sometimes the community can be split. And again, as many people as there are in this community, it's still a small fraction of people that enjoy One Piece. So while the people that you may talk to on a daily basis may have certain opinions and you may feel like that's the popular opinion, I'm sure majority of people just don't feel that way. But when you're in a bubble or in a circle, it may seem like it's the overwhelming thing people are talking about. And that's the same for me. From Twitter to YouTube, just anywhere, it seems like Sanji every single time just gets the short end of his stick, but I think it's meant to be funny, and I think some people take it too seriously, and then they use moments like this to completely destroy Sanji's character. But I think One Piece has always been filled with gags, but I think in the midst of these gags, we know the character, or the Straw Hats in particular, are very reliable. From Nami to Sanji to Zoro to Usopp, Chopper. I don't know, that was a weird way to state all the Straw Hats, or state the Straw Hats without even stating all of them. But what I'm trying to say is, these characters with their blatant flaws, when it's time to come through, they will overcome this thing that you think they cannot for the sake of the crew. We've seen it time and time again. That may be a very interesting video. You know what, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there because I think at that point, that's my gag. Stumbling onto a great video topic, then never talking about it. Hey, maybe that's all right. Anyway, but yeah, Luffy's ready to kick Kaido's ass. Like, he is ready. He's been ready ever since Zou. And Luffy, we're maybe 20 chapters away from that. Probably 10 to 20 chapters away from that happening, but he's ready. And Jinbei and Sanji, they're clearing the way. A moment I'll never forget is in Thriller Bark when Sanji said to Kuma, like, he's the one that everyone will be worried about at some point. And some people may think that's funny now in hindsight. Like, Sanji, no, out of all the Straw Hats, you're not the person everyone is worried about. But what I love about rereading One Piece sometimes is when I go back and I think about how I felt at that time when I read it based on the information I knew. So do we remember when we saw Sanji's bounty poster and it said only alive, just how much we lost our living shit? We were like, what is going on? Who does Sanji have ties to? And now we go out of our way to discredit him, right? It's a crazy thing. And Sanji, I think he's been disrespected. Again, it is part of a gag. It's a way of Oda being funny, which Jinbei, the newcomer, is getting a lot more acclaim based off of his exploits pre-Straw Hat, and I think it's justified. But Sanji is notorious in his own right, especially when you include his lineage. And personally, I think it's funny and genius, especially incorporating Jinbei, who had just joined the crew. Oda's use of comedy. Sometimes it can be really disturbing. And in this chapter, it was really disturbingly funny. I think Hamlet and Fortrix are two of my new favorite characters. As they stated in the chapter, their plan was to exceed expectations. Personally, for me, they've exceeded my expectations of probably the worst but best character designs I've ever seen in anime or manga. Literally ever. I think Oda's just having fun, using these character models as a way to just showcase how creative he can be. Because Hamlet, this is something you think of when you're a kid, when you're just doodling, like, yo, what if come out the mouth of a giraffe? Or what if I have a man come out the ass of a chicken? That's something you think of when you're 5 years old. So that's, you know, sometimes with One Piece, the comedy, even sometimes some of the gags may come off as childlike. I think Oda is very much still in that phase of his life, or just, I mean, as a creator, in which he's still having a lot of fun. And I think these two, Fortrix and Hamlet, they are direct examples of that. Again, the funniest part of the chapter for me by a wide margin. These two, holy shit. And I think what also makes this funnier is them saying they're going to exceed expectations, then completely getting dominated by Sanji and Jinbei in the next panel. Just Oda being a troll, but amazing stuff. This would have been a Queen appreciation video if it was not for Hamlet and Fortrix, because they run the show. They stole the show. But Queen, we have to give him his props. We saw a bit of it in Udon, about how dastardly he can be. But I think we underestimated just how creative he can be. Yes, this could be a game changer, and I think it is a risk in war, because as Hote said, they're attacking enemy and friend alike. It doesn't really matter. But for Queen, I think it's all about the game. It's like Saw. Yeah, you can escape, but you're gonna have to give something up. What are you willing to give up? Your pride, your life, your friend, maybe your freedom. And for Queen, he seems to get a lot of enjoyment out of that. And there's something about a character with personality. A character that talks a lot, does a lot, and sometimes backs it up. Of course, we love the cool, edgy character that doesn't really say much, so when he speaks, it's really impactful. But yes, I like these guys as well. One who's talkative, loud, fat, silly, but smart, and also effective. And that's who Queen is. Yes, he comes off as the more wacky of the three when you think of Kaido's calamities, but so far he's been holding his own. And I think we gotta give Queen a lot of credit here, because this is an impressive plan, especially when Apu is suffering because of it. We've all been waiting for that. I have defended Apu sometimes because I don't think Apu really did anything wrong as a pirate. They said this was gonna happen. The Supernova, they were going to go under the Yonko. Yes, he betrayed people he went into an alliance with, but people, as pirates going into an alliance, the number one rule is that you're going to get f***ed over. That's rule number one. Expect to get screwed over. But with Queen, I think it's great, including the time constraints, the stress of this war, the people involved. It's a deadly game of tag. And at the end of it, that may not be the antibody. I mean, I think it is. But what if it wasn't? Ingenious plan. I mean, he's just great. I had something to say about his ponytail back in the day. I love it now. I think it was really cool that Momo asked the question, who are you? Because I think collectively as an audience, we were asking the same thing. Who are you, Yamato? I'm Odin, yes, but who are you? Who is Yamato? What does Yamato stand for? And I think, of course, Yamato wants to live up to the name of Oden Kozuki, but what was shown here is resolve. And I think the dynamic between Kaido and Yamato is something to behold here, because Yamato is showing the demented resolve that Kaido appreciates, but she's on the other side. Another great parallel between Kaido and Yamato was one of the top comments from my previous video about the chapter, and this is by King K, and he says, "I find it fascinating that Kaido's appreciation for Oden stems from his death, whereas Yamato's appreciation for Oden is because of how he lived his life. Interesting parallels between parent and child." And I mentioned parallels before between Kaido and Oden in regards to Yamato wanting to cosplay or wanting to be like Oden, while Momo, he ate a smile and he turned it into a form that looks just like Kaido. So Oda all along has been trying to give us a connection between Kaido and Oden, and is becoming more and more apparent. I think Yamato's display was powerful. It was almost a straw hat moment. And I gotta say, I am personally rooting for Yamato to join the Straw Hat crew more than before now. The Oden thing felt like a gimmick. It felt whimsical and childlike. Yes, you can be moved by someone, but what are you willing to put on the line? And Yamato is showing here that she's willing to risk everything and anything to protect Momonosuke as if he was her own son. That's the name of the chapter for me today. Resolve. Because at the beginning, we saw the Scabbards with their insane resolve. Kiku lost an arm and acted like nothing happened. And at the end, Yamato taking a point-blank attack, shrugging it off, and then protecting Momonosuke and Shinobu as Oden would, in the name of Kozuki Oden. Just beautiful to see. But guys, give me your thoughts. How did you feel about this fantastic chapter? I thought it was really good. We'll talk about Yamato this week, because I really enjoyed what Oda is doing with her character, and I would like to see more of her. I mean, post Wano. So again, thank you guys so much. Make sure to like the video if you did, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because that helps me out a lot. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.